Is Tesla absolutely fleecing their customers in pricing? Well, if you're not a Tesla fanboy, you may say absolutely, just look at how much they are, but I think the answer might be a little bit more insidious than that. So welcome back to All Cars. I'm John, and this is something that's been brewing in my brain for a little while, and I finally decided I had to do a video about it. Stay to the end because I'll give you kind of a yes or no answer on the question, but if you just want the answer, here it is. Compiling the first quarter 2022 financial results for Ford, GM, and Tesla, you will find out that Tesla makes between 4.5 and 5 times more money per car than Ford or GM. To put it another way, Tesla could cut the price of their cars $8,000 each and still make as much money as Ford and GM. Now, if you want to delve into this with me a little bit and my thoughts on it, here we go. This actually came from a Twitter thread I saw, and the purpose of the thread was to actually justify Tesla's stock price and where they're going and why does it keep going up. Is their stock price reasonable for the size of the company they actually are? And much of the thread says the answer is yes, because Tesla is so profitable and they're expanding and there's high demand and they're building factories and everything else. But it jumped out at me because I believe there's a disconnect between what Tesla tells the world and then what their results actually show. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but Tesla, they did it right. And keep in mind, I love the company. I think history will be very kind to Tesla because they released the S. They popularized EVs. They showed they could be used every day. And then they introduced models that became less expensive to democratize the EVs to the world. And when the Model 3 came out, they were talking about it being a $35,000 car. And they offered that briefly. I think a few were actually built, but not many, and the price pretty consistently has gone up. And Tesla's been raising the price of all of their products, and they're very expensive now. But I do think they are cutting edge, and I think they were just so far ahead of the rest of the EV world that just now major manufacturers are starting to catch up with them. However, part of the reason for the 3 and part of the discussion was to bring the price down of EVs. Now, if you look back at the most recent quarter for Tesla, they talk about a couple of different things in the financial results. The first is they say under revenue, total revenue grew 81% year over year, partially because of increased average selling price. Now, we all know that right now there's been the pandemic, there's been chip shortages, there's been some supply chain shortages all across it, inhibiting supply, inhibiting building cars. But then you look at profitability right underneath it. And number 3, reduced cost per vehicle despite inflationary pressures. Now, they do say rising raw material, commodity, and logistics and expedite costs, but generally, they are reducing their cost per vehicle, but have to raise it, and they're increasing revenue. As a matter of fact, while I've been unable to find it, I read a transcript from Elon Musk where he said he defended the price increases because of the cost per vehicle. But at the end of the day, Tesla has an unbelievable profit margin. They have an operating margin of 19%. And that means that the legacy manufacturers, granted it's not a one-to-one comparison between General Motors worldwide and what Tesla's doing, a much more focused company with 4 products, Tesla makes 5 times more, almost. It reminded me that last fall I did a video where I believe it was the CEO of GM, Mary Barra, came out and said that EVs, they expected to double their profitability per car. Now, at the time, I kind of, whatever, didn't really think much about it because EVs are not the panacea. Once everything goes EV, it's going to become business as usual, everybody fighting for the lowest cost and the most money. It's going to restrict those margins. And we hear for years about the cost of batteries is coming down so fast. I do believe we're going to end up in a situation where the cost of batteries dropping is going to bottom out because there's so many more EVs that need those materials. It'll take a long time for the supply chain to build up to multiple millions of vehicles around the world. But I really kind of just dismissed what GM said about doubling profit. But now I see why they say that. They believe in a world where we're transitioning of mixed EVs and internal combustion engine cars being sold, that the EVs are going to demand a higher price. I don't fully believe that for the mainstream models, because I believe companies like Ford and GM and others are going to be pushing down in the price range to get to that $30,000, $35,000 range of EV cars. That's going to restrict the profitability versus what they're probably getting off of the Hummer or the Lyriq right now. But now I see why, because Tesla's profitability per car is absolutely outrageous. So do I think that they're fleecing their customers? Yeah, I kind of do. I don't think Teslas are worth an $8,000 premium over other stuff out there, at least some of the stuff that's coming out. In the recent past, Tesla's largely had the EV market to themselves. There were competitors, but all of them had major flaws relative to what Tesla was offering. Consider you want to buy a Model 3 and your other choice would be a Nissan Leaf. There's no real comparison there. But on the other hand, I understand why they're doing it, and the fact is they're totally justified in doing it. They are maxing out their plants, they're expanding capacity, they're holding off on newer products, maybe the rumored Model 2, because they can build every car they can sell, or they can sell every car they can build. And Tesla has reached that special point for a manufacturer where they're aspirational. People want them. Tesla's not necessarily a luxury brand like Mercedes or Cadillac when you're buying the Model 3, but they've reached that point where people are like, oh, you got a Tesla, versus you drive a Chevy Bolt. They've reached that special place where they are wanted and the price is almost disconnected from the demand. Now, I think as they continue to expand capability, they're going to be absorbed up, but they're very capable of building millions of EVs, and I think they're going to continue to hold a dominantly small position versus the Hyundais and the GMs and the Fords and the Volkswagens that are going to be coming out as well. Tesla has that cachet. And so the nature of capitalism is, while I want them to build the Model T of EVs that drives the price down as it expands, as sales expand, and make it affordable for everyone, that's not their business. Their business is a return on investment for shareholders. And to do that, you maximize profit. So it actually frustrates me that Teslas could be quite a bit cheaper. They could actually be hitting their $35,000-ish for a Model 3. But it's not exactly like they're profiteering by getting $10,000 per car. They're giving what the market demands, and it's not like people are sitting around going, well, I'm not buying a Tesla because it's $50,000. No, they're waiting months for them to be delivered. This will change eventually. I do believe it. I just question how big Tesla's going to get before maybe they're constricted a little bit. On that, if you want my thoughts, I think Tesla will run into a problem without them updating and coming into new products. I think they're going to reach a point where, in spite of their name, in spite of their increasing sales, and they can basically ride the wave of EV acceptance at this point, now that they've created the market for it, they're going to reach a point where the newer stuff coming out is going to equal them, and it's going to be fresher. And they're still going to have the Model 3, the Model X, and the Model Y out there. And they're not really talking about the other stuff. There's the Cybertruck, and there's a future product, but they're not really releasing any details. So I think if they don't start getting on the bandwagon of styling updates to keep their stuff a little fresh, I think they're going to be really hitting a rough patch. I just question whether that's 5 or 10 years down the road. In the meantime, they continue to be one of the most profitable companies out there. Let me know your thoughts below, guys. Thanks for listening.